Hey YouTube. So just watching a little bit of the late night baseball on a Tuesday night, almost into Wednesday morning. But I thought I'd get on and quickly record a video here. Well, quickly is the operative word. We'll see how long it actually goes. But there was a topic I did want to talk about a little bit. I kind of had it in mind, and then ThoseBackPages kind of stole my thunder a little bit because the same thought crossed his mind and he already made a video on it. But I do have a slightly different angle to take on it, so I was going to make it anyway. But I will, just so that you have that reference point and you can take the other angle on it as well, I'm going to include a link in the description, and as well I will also put it in one of the eyes. Now I think I've almost got this figured out. So I'm going to go here. So I'm going to say that's where the eye is going to be. So I'll include a link to that video so you can check it out. I think it makes some very valid points, and it kind of touches on the same theme that I'm trying to hit, but I'm going to take it from a slightly different perspective. Now, one caveat I will make is that almost everything I'm going to talk about, I'm going to try to lay out very clearly the case and the rationale for why I think so. Because at the same time, what I'm going to talk about is also something that I participate in. So I want to make sure you understand that I'm not just being hypocritical here, I'm kind of explaining the rationale behind it. And what I'm talking about is something that I take umbrage with. And that's the use of the word investment as far as Sportscards is concerned. And the truth is, I subscribe and watch videos from some YouTube channels that talk about sports card investment. You know, that's the next big thing. And I struggle with that because by definition, yes, okay, you know, if we take a really strict definition of it, an investment, so I wanted to make sure I had a definition in front of me. So the action or process of investing money for profit or material result. When it comes to collecting, it gets a little murky because investment is almost like the opposite of collecting. Because in a way, when you're collecting something, your primary aim shouldn't be the monetary outcome of it. It's not just, well, I'll buy this so that then I can make some more money later. It's presumably because you want the thing, the collection or whatever it is. Now, quick caveat, and just so we're clear, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that anyone wants to spend money that they've worked hard to get on something that then is worthless or is worth less than what they paid for it. In a perfect world, we would build our collections and maybe we're a tool to enjoy them or whatever the case may be, then they can be sold off for at least what we paid for it or preferably more. You know, inflation is a thing. But the point is that none of us are trying to intentionally buy something that we know will become worthless thereafter. I don't think that's really a thing that people do. But the value aspect exists in the hobby. It's not something that I'm making up. It's there. You know, we have price guides, we have, you know, eBay auction listing. The reason why people would look up an eBay auction listing history is because they want to get a gauge for market value. They want to understand what the prices are. They want to, nobody likes feeling like they're getting ripped off, but at the other end of it, they're also, even when they're collecting, they almost have an eye for it. Because in theory, if I want it badly enough, I would pay any price that I can afford. But at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm paying more than I should. Well, the sense of value is always built into it. And I'll talk about a couple of examples of kind of what I'm talking about. The reason why I'm focusing in on the word investment and why I dislike it being used is because even though by definition, and I gave you one, by a really vague definition, it counts. To me, sports cards really aren't an investment that way. To me, even though the comparison is made, they say, you know, you can almost compare it to like the stock market. Okay, fine, you could. But to me though, if you're investing in the stock market, you're looking for, and some of this is going to overlap, so you're going to hear some things that sound familiar. If you're investing in the stock market, you're investing in a company that you think has potential for growth, a company that will make profit and do all that, so you're buying a piece of that. So you're doing your research theoretically, maybe, or maybe you're just taking a shot in the dark, whatever the case may be. But if you've done your research and you've gone in and you picked the company and you bought some stock or some shares or whatever the case is, then you're sitting there with the idea that you're hoping that it appreciates. But when you're talking about an investment, there is two ways for it to appreciate. One way is the actual value of it. So I bought it at $50 and now it's worth $100. So if I sold it, I make $50. But there's also, when we're talking about a traditional investment of that type, there's also dividends. There's also other things that just by holding it, I can still derive some value from it. That to me is a more traditional investment. When I look at sports cards, it can be an investment in the same way where if I buy a card for a certain price and then sell it for a higher price, I've made a profit. Obviously. And I can also inform myself in the same way. I can make an educated guess based on some information. I can look at a player and say, you know, I think this player is poised for a breakout. And if I'm right, awesome. It works out. It's beautiful. And the reason why I say I don't want to be accused of hypocrisy and I'm disclosing is to be clear as possible. Even in my last mail day, I bought some Cody Bellinger cards because I thought that price-wise they had some room to grow. Why would I do that if I just say I don't like investment? Because I don't consider it an investment. And this could be just semantics. I want to make sure we're clear on this. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky on semantics, and you can say, well, you're talking about the same thing, but you're just calling it something else. To me, sports cards, when you're buying a sports card with the idea that you're thinking about the future value, something like what I'm doing with those Cody Bellingers, because I'm not really interested in collecting Cody Bellinger, but I'm picking those up with the idea that if he continues to perform well, then I can probably get more money for them than what I paid for. So you could call that an investment. To me, it's more like an educated wager. It's almost like making a sports bet on a team that I think is going to win. So I'm putting the money down ahead of time. I could be right, and that could work out, or I could be wrong, and I get nothing. Sports cards are good in the sense that, generally speaking, it doesn't go to literally nothing. But if you're wrong, and if Cody Bellinger breaks his leg tomorrow and that's the end of his career, well, then those cards aren't going to be worth even what I paid for them. They still won't be worth nothing, but they'll be worth virtually nothing. And stuff like that happens. And it's something that's beyond my control. And all I can do is make an educated guess based on what I've seen so far. But I think the investment, when we put the real word investment into the sports card thing, it breeds a mentality where you're trying to constantly find the next big thing, and you're always chasing something. And then you have the fear of missing out, and all that stuff comes into play. And at a certain point, it's like, well, collecting doesn't necessarily play into that, because sometimes if you're really collecting, you're going to do something where it might work out or it might not. So I brought two cards with me on the table here just to give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about. I'll give you both ends of the spectrum. So first one is a recent pickup. So this one's going to be in a mail day video probably this weekend, but I'll give you a little sneak preview. So this is a Vladimir Guerrero 2019 Topps Chrome. So this is the regular refractor. So this is just another one that I'm adding to. I'm slowly trying to pick up all the different refractors. I haven't gotten any of the numbered ones yet, but I've got a few more that are on the way. So this is just the regular refractor. So it's worth a little bit more than the base Topps Chrome card, but it's a nice card. It is reasonably shiny, although, to be fair, I like the Prism Refractor and some of the other ones, and the X-Fractor and a couple of them a little bit more, but I wanted to have this as an example of one of the other ones. Now, the reason I'm using this as an example, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a 20-year-old player. The hype on him started early, even before he ever did an at-bat in the major leagues. And it's still there to a certain degree, but it has quieted down a little bit. The Blue Jays weren't a very good team. And realistically, Vladimir Guerrero, while he's played well, like if you really look at his statistics, now he's been hot and cold, but if you look at his statistics, it's like he's a 20-year-old. So hitting almost 270, hitting 15, 16 home runs, 60 RBIs, give or take, I'm not really bothered by that. And what kind of it leads me to think is, so if next year, and here's a little scenario I'll play out for you. He's 20 years old right now. If next year, and I'm going to compare him to another player in a second, if next year he comes out, he plays a little bit better, he hits 31 home runs. I'm just making up numbers now. He hits 31 home runs, hits about 80 or 90 RBIs, slowly improves his numbers a little bit. Is that good or is that a disappointment? A lot of it really depends on where you're trying to do. If you're really on the hype train, you're trying to go, well then the fact he hasn't hit 50 home runs yet is already a problem for you. But at 21 years old, I'd be really content. As a Jays fan and as a collector, I'd be good with him hitting 30-odd home runs, almost 90 RBIs, give or take, and hitting right around that 270, 280 range. If he does better, that's better, but that's not bad. To me, that would not be a disappointment. But my expectations are set accordingly. I'm not worried about this thing doubling and tripling in value overnight. That isn't a concern for me. But I am going to contrast this with something else. So let's stick with that scenario. So that's at 21 years old, he hits about 30 home runs, 80 or 90 RBIs, give or take, blah, blah, blah. Okay, year 3. Age 22 season. He hits 35 home runs. He cracks the 100 RBI plateau, hits about 285, 290. There's progression, like it's improving. But at the same time, is that fast enough for someone who is worried about the hype train, or someone who is concerned? Because now at this point, you have multiple years of additional rookies coming up. So you're moving on to the next hot thing. If you're worried about the investment portion of it, or you can take the other angle and say, oh, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm worried about long-term investment. Well, at what point do you start to give up on that? The career trajectory I've given you is actually improving as we're going along. So that's age 22 season. Age 23, hits 37 home runs, a little over 100 RBIs, and creeps closer to that 300 batting average. Year 4, now you're moving on. So age Well, year 4 or year 5. So age 24 season. Let's say you get to about 5 years. So age 24 season, and now you finally have the breakout. Hits 45, 46, 47. Let's use 47. 47 home runs. Has the big RBI total, cracks over 300, now is an MVP candidate. Age 24. At that stage, if I went with a trajectory like that, at that stage, the player has almost 150, 160 home runs, with a good chance of, by age 25, being at 200 career home runs. So a great career trajectory. But right up until that breakout season, where it finally all came together, there had been steady progression. It was slow, but it was happening. Is that okay? What happens to the values? Because the values started off relatively high with a little bit of hype. But the question is that fast enough for the people that are trying to capitalize on it today? They want it to happen tomorrow. And that's what's scary about the investment mentality, is like you have no patience. And you're also sitting there trying to project, like in year 1. After these small sample sizes, you're already crowning somebody to, they're on pace to be the greatest of all time. It's like, well, if I go 4 for 4 in a game and hit 3 home runs, I'm on pace to be the greatest of all time. It doesn't mean anything. It's a small sample size. Now I'm going to use the contrasting. The collecting mentality is that it would be really nice. So I'm building together a little Vladimir Guerrero Jr. collection. He's on my team. I figure he's a good young player. I'd like to see his development. I want to see him grow. So I'm picking up cards like this. The prices on it are relatively under control despite the early hype, because he hasn't lit the world on fire right now in year 1. And that's okay. I think that it gives a little bit of room for growth and, and progression, which is great. So I'll use the contrast. So this is part of my Jamie Benn collection. It is, I think, the most expensive card in my Jamie Benn collection. So this is his rookie card. This is the Cup. So it is the autographed patch card. It is out of $249, I believe. Yes, it's a $249. So this is his premier rookie card. It is his most expensive. I think the Beckett value on this was about $350. I didn't pay that. I paid a little less because I bought it already a couple of years past when it kind of peaked. Jamie Benn is captain of the Dallas Stars, my favorite hockey team. But he also won a scoring title a couple of years back when, he put all the pieces together, and it was also a lower year for scoring, but it worked out. So he has hardware to his name that even my favorite player, Mike Modano, does not have. He never got a scoring title. This guy has one. And this is his best rookie card. So is this a good investment? Actually, I don't think so. I don't think it is. Because even though I didn't pay full book value for it, unless he goes and lights it up and wins the Stanley Cup as captain of the team and is the best player and does all that, I actually think this card will decrease over time. So actually, it's a terrible investment. The truth is, I'd probably be better off buying it in 5 years when the hobby has realized that he's not going to be a 500, 600 goal scorer, which I don't think he ever was going to be, but I think he was an excellent player who can score goals. But he's not a gifted playmaker in the realm of a Gretzky or Lemieux. He was never going to be that guy. And he's also not, he's not Bobby Hull. He's not Mike Bossy. He's not a Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux style goal scorer either, or a Brett Hall. He's not that kind of player. But he's a very, very good player. And he is the captain of the team and my favorite team, and I enjoy watching him play. And this is his best rookie. This is a horrific investment. To be honest, it should go down in value. That's my expectation. And I'm okay with that. That's the opposite of investment. That's a terrible investment. By investment terms, this is a literal waste of money. It's taking money and lighting it on fire. And that's okay. It's part of the collection. I'm good with that. The point that I'm trying to make isn't judgment of any kind. Do whatever you want to do and pursue the hobby in whatever way you do, because, as I said, I'm not going to cast judgment on you, because I will buy cards with the idea that maybe, if things work out, then I may be able to sell them for more than I bought them for. But the proceeds will then probably go back into the collection. It'll allow me to buy more of these, where, frankly, it's not going to work out. Collecting Mike Modano right now, today, years after he retired, Mike Modano's already in the Hall of Fame. His credentials are established. His career has been written as far as his playing career as a hockey player. He's not going to get better, he's not going to score additional goals, and he's not going to reignite his hobby value because he's already done everything he can in that sport. So collecting him at this point, there's no way the cards can go up. They can only go down or stay the same. So as far as that's concerned, then in theory, if I was sticking to a strictly investment mentality, I should just stop collecting him entirely, and I'm not going to. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to occasionally look for ones where I think there's an opportunity, where I think there's something in there. But it isn't my primary focus. My point is that, as I said, I don't treat it as an investment. I hate the verbiage. And after I get off this video, I'm going to try myself as well to really try to avoid saying those words. And it's very difficult because some of us do spend a lot of time, effort, and money in the hobby. And we don't want to ever, and as I said, we don't ever want to feel like we're wasting our money. That's a terrible thing to feel. You don't want to feel like you're buying something that tomorrow is going to be worth nothing. You don't want to feel that. That's not a good sensation for anyone. But at the same time, I don't buy these cards with the idea that I intend to get rich off of them. I don't think that's going to happen. If it did, it'd be awesome, but I'm not expecting it. And it's that lack of expectation that allows me to just look at it for what it is. If all my cards were worth $0 tomorrow, I would probably still collect. And by probably, I mean I'd still collect. Because I like the stuff. If I didn't like the stuff, then I wouldn't collect it. The fact that I buy some cards with the possibility of maybe turning it around for a slight profit doesn't negate that. It means that I have the idea in my head that I understand that there is a market out there. It still exists. When I go to eBay, cards, I would love to buy cards. If the hobby was zeroed out and everyone was gone in the sense, I could get all the cards I wanted for nothing. That would be kind of fun for me. Not for everyone, but it would be fun for me. But I don't expect that to happen. I'm not expecting it, I'm not asking for it, I'm not looking for it. If you've got an entire group of people who are fixating so much on the value, and that's kind of the angle that Eric and ThoseBackPages took, and it's fair, and it's a fair point. He's associating it, what about the memories associated with the card? That's a very valid point. I'm just saying from the perspective of a collection as well, I have some good memories watching teams that this guy captained, and I'm hoping in the long run, because right now it's still early, I'm hoping that there'll be some good teams that this guy will play for. But I don't know that. So this could very well, I could put together a nice little collection of these cards for this guy, and he could crash and burn and amount to nothing. And then the money I spent on this will all be gone, and I'll shrug my shoulders and move on with my day. It's not the end of the world, is I think the overarching thing that I'm trying to get at. So I'm going to mostly leave it at that, but the last thing I'll say is the only reason that I really don't like the word investment is for the reason that I said. These are less investments to me than more. If you want to make an investment parallel and you want to use stocks, fine. Sports cards are more like day trading because there is no value. These cards are genuinely worthless until I sell them. So if these go up 5,000%, and this is a $1,000 card and this is a $5,000 card, that's awesome. Until I sell them, they're worth exactly what I paid for them and not a dime more. They're day traded stocks. I'm not going to get any dividends out of them. So to me, that's never going to really be an investment. You know, my pension is an investment. My, you know, any stocks that I own, that's an investment. Even my house, I guess, to a certain degree, I debate that. It's more of a debt, but all right, this could be an investment, I suppose, because you at least have equity in this. So this house is worth more than when I bought it. Is that going to make me a millionaire? Probably not. Maybe if I live long enough. But the point is that as an investment, at least I know for a fact, but I'd still have to sell it in order to actually reap that benefit directly. This is a lot closer, this building is a lot closer to being an investment than these will ever be. But these can be wagers. These can be bets that you make. I buy this today and sell it for 10 times that amount tomorrow. Or I sell it for nothing. And it just stays in the box. That's kind of my angle on it. Like I said, it could just be semantics. It could just be me. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. That's really the thing that I don't like. And that's why I use the example. I've been scanning through blowout forums just for fun. Because I like looking. I mostly like lurking. I don't post anything. But I like looking at all the different posts for the different players. And then from time to time, you'll read different threads where someone will be complaining that their player in question, you know, isn't getting enough hobby love. And it's like, why do you care? It's like, because you want your cards to be worth more. I get it. Actually, I almost forgot. My apologies. I did want to make a comparison. I used the Vladimir Guerrero example. So, like I said, I gave that little scenario where I projected different statistics for him over time, and I'm saying, would it be okay for someone who bought a bunch of these right now to wait potentially 4 or 5 years before the numbers kicked in? Well, the last number I used was 47 home runs, and I was specific. I'm making reference to Pete Alonso. So here's the thing. In that scenario I just laid out, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would be slowly increasing his home run totals year by year, and then suddenly breaking out in his age 24 season. Why hasn't Pete Alonso exploded? He's having a historically great rookie season. That's kind of the way the hobby works. Now, his cards are certainly worth more than they were a couple of months ago, but he is the league leader in home runs as I speak right now. Why isn't he as a rookie? Why isn't he? Because he's approaching the rookie record. What's interesting though, the part of the reason why I think that is today, and that could change, you know, he could suddenly burst, you know, so people could come to that realization and suddenly go after his cards and it could really go nuts. But I think the reason for it is that Pete Alonso is 24 years old. He's a 24-year-old rookie who is approaching some of the all-time single-season rookie home run records. 52 is the Aaron Judge record for home runs as a rookie. The thing though is that Aaron Judge plays for the Yankees, so it has helped his hobby value, I would say. But Aaron Judge was also 25 when he set that mark. So again, the reason why I use the comparable to this, would it be okay if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. didn't start meeting those expectations until age 24 and age 25, but was still putting up numbers that were steadily improving, when we've got the guys, an Aaron Judge or Pete Alonso, who put up those massive numbers in their rookie season, but they're already 24 and 25, as opposed to a guy who's 20 and just figuring things out. I'm okay with waiting 5 or 6 years for the guy to start really developing and going. But if he's progressing along, I'd be content with that. But I don't know if everyone is, and that's the issue with the investment thing. All right, I've rambled enough. I'm pretty sure I've cleared 20 minutes again. It seems to be a thing on this channel. As always, if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. And I will catch you in the next video on the channel. Thanks very much.